Circus World by Baraboo Longyear. So in this video, I'm going to briefly talk about how I found this trilogy and a little bit about Barry Longyear and Circus World. Then talk about the reading order, because it'll make sense when I go into the plot. I'm going to talk about why I think you should read this, and then I'll get into the plot and then wrap up the video and talk about what I'm reading next. So all these books were written in between like 1978 and 82, I believe. The first two in publication order were Circus World and City of Baraboo. And these are fix-up novels of a collection of short stories. And then here's City of Baraboo. And then the final book in publication order, Elephant Song, was actually written like a novel. And I found these, well, actually my wife in our local bookshop, she's really good at finding really good covers. And she ran up to me and said, "Oh, you got to check this out." So I bought this just on the cover alone. And I got home, looked it up, and I was like, wow, this looks really good. There's good ratings. It doesn't look as absurd as I would think from the cover. People are talking about deep themes and all these other kind of things. And so went back to the bookstore because I knew they had some other books from Barry Longyear, and they also had Elephant Song. And so I had two books in the trilogy, so I just had to hunt down this book, and I completed the whole trilogy. And then kind of during the holidays, I started reading through. And like I said, the reading order is kind of confusing in this one. I went in publication order. So Circus World was published first, but this is kind of the last book in chronological order. So in publication order, we go Circus World, City of Baraboo, and Elephant Song last. But in internal, like chronological order, you would start with City of Baraboo, then you would have Elephant Song, and the last book would be Circus World. But after reading them, I think you could read them in any order. I don't think it would really matter that much. I would probably recommend starting with Circus World because I think it's just slightly the better book out of the three of them. They're all really good. I gave them all 4 stars. But I think I just like this one just a little bit more. Maybe it was just because it was the first one I read. But now why you should read this. Like I said, this series looks pretty pulpy and absurd and lighthearted. And there's definitely moments where it's like that. There's some great humor. But it's really mixed up with a space opera backdrop. And we have all kinds of things here. We have space battles and political things going on. We have, the people living on this planet and how they're going about their ways. We have the influence of coming from a circus background and how that translates. And I think that's the thing I like the most about this series is I think Barry did a really good job with culture building. So it's the idea that if you isolated a bunch of circus people and they ended up crash landing on a planet and were there by themselves, what kind of civilization would they come up with? And it's unique. It's probably not plausible, but it's not silly, dumb things like you have to go up to a clown and honk their nose before you can talk to them. It's not that absurd. It's really interesting, well thought out culture that he put into this book. And I think for me, that was the thing that I liked the most, the inhabitants of the circus, because as you go through the trilogy, they go from Earth and then through space and then onto this planet. And they're just really cool people. I liked hanging out with most of them. Some of them weren't the best characters, but just the way their civilization, the way they went about their business was really great. And so with that out of the way, let's kind of go briefly into the plot, and then I'm just going to wrap this up. So like I said, I started with Circus World, which is kind of the chronologically last events that happen in this trilogy. And all we know is that this spaceship carrying all these circus performers crash landed on a desolate planet, and they'd been there for a while and kind of set up their own civilization in a way. And they had little contact really with any other planets around there. But the galaxy is kind of populated. We have people all over in different planets, and there's kind of this kind of division between Earth and their territory, and then kind of a further out territory. And I think they call it like the 9th and 10th districts or something like that. I might have got that wrong, but our circus performers have crash landed on a planet that's like right in between these two, political parties that are kind of getting ready to possibly go to war with one another. And so Earth sends out this delegate to kind of go and warn the people of Circus World, and also kind of see if they could hold the line and join the Earth's cause and, help prevent the advancement of these other people, So that's kind of the setup of the book. And in the beginning, you've got this delegate who left Earth, and he has to go through all these crazy things just to get to the planet. All these things are it's like the universe is trying to prevent him from getting there, and he just barely manages to get to the planet. And then as he finds his first humans there and goes up and starts talking to them, he realizes this isn't going to be a straightforward, easy mission like he thought, because they just won't listen to what he has to say. There's a way you go about it culturally of how you pass information around. And he ends up having to spend months, if not years, jumping through all these hoops. I can't remember how long it took him to kind of make it legitimate that he can even tell them this news. So it's done really good. It is a fix-up novel, so we jump around a little bit. We have chapters with this delegate, and his name was like Allenby. And then we jump around, and we kind of have some other side plots going on that are just kind of building the whole culture of this planet. And it's done really well. And at the end of the book, you get some resolution of this whole plot with these warring factions, and kind of the story of these circus performers kind of caught in the middle of this. And our delegate Allenby, who becomes one of my favorite characters in the trilogy. So it was really good, and like I said, it hooked me. I knew the other books kind of went back in time, but I was just so intrigued by how well he put together the culture that I just had to go back and read the other books. So the next book was City of Baraboo, and this book kind of chronologically, like I said, it's the first book. So the circus is kind of been on hard times on planet Earth. And this is a story of how they decide to get a ship built and leave and take the show on the road and start traveling to these other solar systems to perform the circus to all these other worlds. This book was great too. It's probably a tie between my second favorite. Circus World was my favorite, and these two are probably like dead even. This one had a little bit more political stuff going on. You have some businessmen and some corporation things and some clever folks. These circus performers, they're clever. They're good at tricks. They're good at misdirecting people, and it's really good. The plot is good. The payoff is pretty good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then the last book that I read, which is kind of smack dab in the middle chronologically, this is Elephant Song. And like I said, this book was actually written like a novel. And this is the very tragic tale of how the spaceship kind of crashed or got stranded on this planet, Momus. And that's the planet that we're in the whole time in Circus World. So it's very sad. It has this kind of just a sad theme through the whole book, but there's uplifting points in the book. There's more absurdity and humor. There's some, humans that are going through some issues. One of the main characters has kind of been exiled for certain reasons. But the true tragedy has to do with the name of the book and our beautiful illustration here on the front. And so I would say give this a shot. I would say start with Circus World. If you like that, read the other books. It's probably not for everyone. You probably need to be in the right reading mood for this. But if it all hits like it did for me, you'll absolutely love it. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about this one. So put it on your TBR. Next up, I'm reading Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. This is part of my series I'm doing, the Masterpieces of Science Fiction. And I did a book haul a while ago where I pulled this one out, Firewatch by Connie Willis. And this is a collection of short stories. And there is a story in here called Firewatch. And I knew it was kind of loosely tied in here. And I asked in the video if you need to read that before Doomsday Book. And some people said, yeah, you should. So I went ahead and read that, and I'm glad I did. It was pretty cool, short story. Kind of introduces you to this Oxford time travel group, whatever you want to call them. And I don't know, not even a quarter into Doomsday Book and loving it. So look for that video review coming out next. And once again, thanks for watching.